We're we're rolling, baby.
We're rolling.
Jimmy boy.
What's
Well,
up, man?
you look just as handsome as when I first saw you a couple
It's
months ago,
true.
1 month ago.
That's
That's
true.
true. It's true. I actually got more handsome. So,
I think there was one time my brothers were on vacation. This is like forever ago. He's like, damn it, it happened again. And I'm like, what? He's like, I got better looking.
now
I'm
that's
like,
that's a brother to have.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, you're not even that good looking, so it's not much to get better looking.
That's right. Hey, let the man have his glow up, okay?
I know. It was a good one though. I was like, I gotta use that.
I'll be very candid with you. I have no intention with this. I just want to talk to you and get to
Yeah.
know you, have other people get to know you and get really deep because you're a very insightful person
Oh, thank
and
you.
you're all right, settle down.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bring your ego back down.
Thank you for seeing that. Thank you for seeing how unbelievably insightful I
Wait, let me take you down a peg and then build you back.
am.
So give us a quick little, tell the peeps who you are, a little about yourself, and then we're gonna fucking go
See
down
what
some rabbit
happens.
holes.
All right. I like it. I like it. Um, yeah, I'm Jim Hallinan. I'm a high school teacher first and foremost. I've been wrapping up my 23rd year as a
Wow.
public school teacher. And it's a fun little side note. I own a driving school for the last 15 years. And I do online nutrition coaching, which I'm definitely been going through a lot the last handful of months, pivoting the direction that I want to coach
Mm.
people, dealing with the same. It's funny because Sean Pastuch, he is right. He spoke,
Yeah, dude.
so
He
we've
fucked my
become,
mind up too.
yeah, we've become pretty close over the last 5 6 months, and we talk regularly and send each other funny memes on a regular basis and funny videos as well. But he asked me these questions, and he asked things so direct and
Mhm.
just I'm like, where are you going with this? And it makes you realize how many things you haven't investigated in yourself.
Yes.
And through those questions and directness with stuff, I've, come there. I was on his podcast and he asked me, like, don't you get tired of talking about like macros? Like, yeah, but that's not really what I'm talking to people about.
Yeah.
But I got months later what maybe he was intending with that statement. And I'm like, yeah, thinking about what makes some clients successful with this, what makes some not so successful, what gets me fired up about what a client's doing
Mm.
versus other things like, cool, you hit your macros, cool, you lost weight. I'm not fired up about that.
Mm.
I'm fired up maybe about how you've changed your outlook. And so it's really got me. I'm outlining a whole, I don't know, curriculum, I guess you could say, like ways, like
Mm.
steps, phases, processes that I'd want to take people through. I want to roll that out to some people that do a lot of group stuff with
Mm.
me and in my Facebook community and just kind of test it out and really put people in a position to confront themselves, figure out what their values are. I'm understanding now the importance of really establishing what those are. And so, yeah, taking a different approach, I believe, which will get me more excited, pursue
Mm.
things that you're passionate about. And it's work. I'm sitting there just typing all the stuff, things that come to my mind and doing research and finding things out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I am. High school teacher, nutrition coach, changing a little bit of my approach.
I love that. There's many things that came up from that I want to dive into. First, I got to say you're probably the most patient person in the world, which probably shows with coaching, but
Yeah.
to run a driving school, put your life on the line, and
Yes.
also to
Yes.
be a teacher for 23 years, I think that I could definitely tell just through your demeanor and what you do for career and coaching that patience is probably one of your best gifts and understanding and also how to actually convey the information you're trying to get someone to understand.
Yeah, I think my experience as a teacher, I'm very thankful that I got into this later in life. I mean, I'm 45
Mm.
years old. I started coaching 7 or 8 years ago. I'm thankful for that, that I understand what my average client is going through with busyness and life and just age and experience and all that. And my teaching experience for me to be able to talk about things in a way that people can understand. It's always
Mm.
frustrated me when I would hear like a trainer or a nutrition coach say, you got to really address your posterior tilt, their valgus, and just throwing these words out, where you're like, just talk normal so people can
Right.
understand. Like, stop trying to sound smart.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's people are so in that world, that's just how they talk. And some people I think are trying to sound smart to create
Mm.
some sort of authority. So it was always very easy for me to say things in a very simple way for people to understand. I think that comes from my experience teaching. That's probably why I got into teaching. I've
Mm.
always, liked teaching. Now, being a phys ed teacher, you're not doing a whole lot of teaching.
Mhm.
So I do
Mhm.
enjoy health class. I teach that differently than most of the other health teachers. I do get into nutrition. I do get into mindset stuff, anxiety, stress, depression, things that a lot of the other teachers don't get into. I love
Mhm.
talking about the mindset stuff. So yeah, patience. It's funny how you can fly off the handle so quick,
Yeah.
but still have a lot of patience. Like I definitely have a lot of patience, but I can fly off the handle really quick. And like one comment, one thing. I mean,
Yeah.
this year I had some kid totally curse me out. Like, the fuck you fucking talk, like look at me right in the face, cursing me out because I told him like, dude, where are you going? Like, period's not over. He just started walking away, curses me out, and I just look and I go, okay. Like
Yeah.
I'm not taking this stuff personally anymore. I'm
Yeah.
not going to try to like assert authority on you at that point anymore. Um, and I think they respond well to that. We end up having a conversation later, and he's like really likes me now. But
I
it's
fucking love that.
yeah.
That's
So
amazing. I
yeah, I'm
think
patient.
yeah, I'm patient. Well, I think and I always that's the what you literally just said is how I try to explain how at least my approach with coaching because there's all these subjects in school that we learn maybe we hate or maybe we think we hate because of how the material is presented.
Yeah,
I think so I think the best teachers in life are the ones that make you see the subject in a way that just makes sense to you, that
yeah,
simplify it, and also present it in a way that kind of hits home for you a little bit,
yeah, yeah,
right? So I love that's kind of how your approach to it as well, because I same here. I ain't about the nerd shit, right? Like
yeah,
it's just
yeah. I'm like I have a master's degree in this stuff. That's the thing. It's like sometimes I'll because I do the podcast with Aram,
Yep.
and he'll throw words out there. And
Yep.
I'm like, well, what that means this. And I'll explain. He's like, our audience isn't stupid. I'm like, it's just ingrained in me. If I say a word, I then want to
Yeah.
explain what that word is,
Right.
assuming just in case somebody doesn't know what that word or phrase or initial is for
Uh-huh.
something. It's just ingrained in me to do that all the time.
Oh,
So yeah,
1000%. And I think, like I said, when you present content in a simple way or any type of lesson, like I said, and maybe somebody gets it when you have the Arams of the world when they're like, oh, Algus, got it. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
cool. For some people that's it. So my question for you is because you're in a period of alignment, it sounds like, right? So I really love that
getting
because
there.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some things that I'm realizing like, okay, these things I have to cut out of my life.
yeah.
Even like the driving school is one of them. I've been hands off of it for years. I've had to recently get back more involved, and I'm like, this might be something at the end of this year needs to be cut out of my life.
Mm,
For the time, the mental attention, and all that. But I keep it for all these reasons. Like, I feel bad for all my drivers who have a part-time job. I feel bad for the woman who owns the building. Like,
mm,
I'm close with her, and like she's not going to get somebody else in there. It's a thousand
mm-hmm.
dollars a month. Like all these reasons, I want to keep it going, and the income is the least of those reasons.
No.
So yeah, to realize what to say no to and what to cut out. I mean, even the word decide. I posted about this a while ago. Like the biggest frustrations come from indecision, and the
Mm,
word decide is rooted in to cut off. It's like
mm,
that's hard to cut things off.
to
So
let
I'm
go, right?
definitely, yeah, I'm definitely in this place where I'm like, I need some things that I need to take action on to be more in alignment. But I definitely am in alignment, like in my mind of where I want to go
Yeah,
and what I do and things
yeah.
like that.
I love that. There's an analogy I heard
I love
James
a good
Corden
analogy.
say. Yeah, me too. A good teacher throws a good analogy, right?
That's I'm the Jesus of nutrition coaching with my parables.
These are my disciples. Enjoy the body of Jimmy.
It will stay covered on Instagram
That's
99% of the
right.
time.
Behind a paywall, though.
On my Patreon, though.
That's right.
I'm not trash. I don't have an OnlyFans. I
That's
expose myself on
right.
Patreon.
I'm a sophisticated man.
I'm a
Uh,
sophisticated stripper. What?
This is
What
perfect.
did he
Hey,
say?
shout out to my mom. Say hi to my mom, Jimmy. She listens to this
What's
podcast.
going
She
on?
loves these podcasts, and
I'm
she.
sure my parents will listen too. They're like, send me whenever you're a
That's
guest.
right. Shout out to Jimmy's mom too.
Yeah.
Parents.
What's up,
Um,
moms?
the analogy I heard about that I heard James Corden say it. And it was that, sort of at one point in life you have this really beautiful balloon, right? And you're holding on to this balloon, and you're like, I can't imagine my life without this balloon, right? And sometimes we hold on to that thing for so long that the magic that kept it floating and beautiful and all these things, it just goes away and it deflates. And then at one point you're just dragging this deflated balloon through life, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing when you're able to appreciate this balloon for what it is. And then when you let go of it, you get to sort of take a step back and look at it and say, like, wow, that's so beautiful. That was once in my hand, right? Like I
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
had that thing, and it's cool to just watch it float away.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that what you said reminded me a lot of it, because I think a lot in life we tend to hold on to things longer than we should.
Yeah.
And there's a real lesson and there's a real beauty to letting go of things when you feel it's right and when you feel it's time, and you're because it opens up room for another balloon, right, that
Yeah.
you can hold on to and appreciate.
Yeah. I think that this is something that I think a lot of clients, a lot of people, obviously in general, I say clients because that's who I'm working with. I'm not working with my non-clients, but the people in my life or people I work with struggle with letting go, even mentally.
Mm,
And people are chasing the body that they had when they were 20 something,
yeah.
and they want to get back to that. And it's not the body that they're chasing, it's the memories of that time of their life. It's the
Mm,
carefree, it's the just having fun with friends in ways that they're not having fun with friends now, and they can't let that go. Or you'll have people who they're just wishing, like, I wish I had a different life, I wish I had a different life, failing to recognize that they have the life now because they wished all their previous lives away. You can't
mm,
wait to get out of high school,
yeah.
and you're in college. I can't wait to get out of college, get a job. Then you get a job.
Yeah.
I want the family. You get the family. I want the kid. I get the kid. And then there's nothing new, nothing exciting. And then you start looking back on all this stuff, and it's like, no, you had that life. You experienced that high school life. You experienced that college life going to college. You experienced that, young professional life, the marriage life, the family life, the house life, like all these things. And you have graduated all those experiences from your choice, and now
Mm,
you're wishing what you have now away versus being excited about this new phase of life. Like, I personally
mm,
have loved every year getting older. I didn't hit that spot yet where I'm like, oh my God, 45. What the hell? Like 40, I
mm.
was like fired up. I'm like, this is freaking, I'm crushing 40. Like, that's
Yeah.
how I was viewing it.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way now. I'm not, crushing it in the same way maybe I was years ago, but life is different right now.
Mm,
So I'm excited about the wisdom and the experience that I'll have with each passing year.
mm,
And I'm not holding on to a lot of those past things, but there are things like, right now that, yeah, am I holding on to certain things that I need to let
mm,
go? We need to really take that self inventory and look. But
yeah.
if people could realize what they're chasing are those memories, those times, those experiences, then you can start to incorporate those things back into your life. Like, bring
Mm,
more fun back into your life. The only fun that the average adult does is they go out to eat and they go drinking, and they're wondering why they're feeling empty.
mm,
They might even say things like, I just wish like my friends were more active. Well, you're not initiating that. Why aren't you initiating going and playing pickleball, going for a walk in the park, doing these things and
mm,
bringing your friends along? There's different ways to have fun, trying new things. People just stop trying new things, stop
yeah.
being exposed to scary things. I love trying new things, no matter how scary they are. It's I'm down. Sometimes I gotta be pushed. Sometimes I'll avoid them, no doubt. But yeah, I think people can bring that excitement back into their life and not be chasing the past so much.
Yeah. No, and I think that is it's a very great realization. I think that that hits home for a lot of people where you almost try to bottle up nostalgia and you try to go back in time through weight loss or fat loss, right? But it's really
Yeah,
just like you're wanting for change in life wrapped up in a pretty bow that you think is weight loss, right?
yeah.
And I think that's so true. And I love what you said too about how we're sometimes we get caught waiting for somebody to ask us to do something or the right opportunity to get presented or get us out something to get us out of our comfort zone, right? But I think what we also don't realize is if you want those opportunities, sometimes you got to lead by action,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's so profound. So I get my question for you is how do you, because this is something you really are passionate about with your clients, how do you get to them to this point of that realization or awareness to even understand that what they're chasing isn't really this body or anything like that, but this is your deeper goal.
This is why I'm working on what I'm working on. So it's more of almost like a structured thing where I can even answer a question like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I know it's the people where it's successful. It's from simply the conversations that we have,
Hmm.
them being vulnerable and talking about all aspects of their lives, not just
Yep.
weight and macros, and then us having a conversation about it. I'm much more into asking questions. I
Yep.
have learned when somebody texts me a piece of information, I do not assume that it was a positive text or a negative text. I had
Mm,
somebody text me one time about, I want to say it was a scale number. And I was like,
hmm.
nice. And they were pissed about it.
Yeah.
And so now it's somebody texts me something. I'm like, how do you feel about that?
Hmm.
And ask, and then just ask questions.
Yeah.
I've always been a question asker. Now I'm just a little bit more aware of when to ask questions and when not to.
Hmm.
Even I've learned those lessons to be a teacher when a kid says something and I laugh, and I find out they were serious afterwards. And I'm like, oh shit, that wasn't good.
Principal's
You
office,
know?
Jimmy.
Yeah, yeah. It was funny because even this one time, this woman calls, this is forever ago, this woman calls the driving school and refers to her son as kind of retarded. I'm sitting there like I wanted to laugh.
Yeah.
I thought that she was just busting her kid's balls.
Hmm.
This is back when you said the R word.
Right.
Um, Said that, and I'm like, I didn't respond. And then it turns out the kid had mild cognitive disorder,
Hmm.
which part of me was like, that even makes it worse. You just said your
Yeah.
kid's kind
Right.
of retarded. He actually has like mild cognitive disorder.
Right.
It was it was wild. So yeah, just another example of don't assume.
That's
When
right.
don't assume when people are saying something. So yeah, so now I like to ask those questions. How do you feel? If they didn't feel great about it, why didn't you feel great about it? What could you have
Hmm.
done what do you think you should have done differently that would have made you feel
Yeah.
good? Are you prepared for that next time? All those kinds of things. But a lot of those questions. I mean, one client was going through some stuff and really feeling down about all her decisions and how she was feeling body wise. And then through our conversation, realized, hey, this is the first time I'm going to see my ex. And it was at a holiday party
Mm.
where they all had similar friends and this and that. And just realized through our conversation, holy shit, it's all this other stuff that's going on
Yeah.
that's making me feel this way. And it just like the flip switched in her brain.
Hmm.
And it's cool when that stuff happens,
Yeah.
And she ends up like sending
Absolutely.
me a picture, like, oh, like this is what I wore to the party. Like I felt great. Like
Yeah.
she's like, I feel weird sending you this, but it wasn't like a random bikini pic or anything,
Right.
but just a Christmas party outfit. So those things are exciting for me. I think it's from conversation. I'd like to have those things more organized so that there's a higher success rate for people. Cause we all know like the success rate's not super high for the
Hmm.
average person that's just coming in and wanting to lose weight and
Hmm.
do macros.
Right.
Unless there's some internal work done, you
Hmm.
know,
Yep.
like most people don't even know, like if I were like, what are your strengths? And people don't really know. And it's like, I've
Hmm.
been going through like, what are my values? And people just say things like integrity, character, family. Well, what does that even mean? That means
Hmm.
nothing. you
Right.
know, and then when you start going through those exercises to really find them out, you're like, wait, that counts as a value. This counts as a value. And then to
Yeah.
turn that into an action statement. So anybody who's wanting to start to try to figure out your values, I mean, there's websites out there, there's PDFs out there. You can hire me when I have it done.
There you go.
But you can find those things and you go through it, and then you'll have these words. But I would encourage everybody to turn them into an action statement.
Mhm.
So integrity, what does that mean? Like, how do you apply that in your life? Like, what's the sentence that goes along with that? That kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
just
I
right.
do think there's beauty in conversation, right? And
Yeah,
there's beauty in asking the right questions because I think, and I was actually just talking to Jordan Lips about this today too on his podcast,
you
and
know all the cool people.
I, I just met these people. You listen to me too. Don't. What did you say? You just said don't assume. I'll tell you what. Actually, the Aram's event, RCS, was my first like seminar, I think ever that I went
Conference
to.
thing. Okay.
First conference that I've ever went to. And
Yeah.
I met a lot of people. I'm pretty introvert. I'm like an ambivert kind of like
Okay.
once I understand who Jimmy Boy is, he makes some jokes. He says I sound like Matthew McConaughey, like then I'm gonna
You've
then
heard
I'm
that before, right?
I have.
Okay. Like, this
And it
can't be
boosts my
news to
ego
him.
every time. But that was so I'm actually really I feel like I'm just starting to get to know cool people in the industry
Yeah.
because I've always been the type where it's like fitness nutrition's cool, but it's not my fucking life, right?
Yeah.
And so I very much
Exactly.
value like other people outside the industry, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know, I like other shit, right?
Yeah.
Like you like
Yeah.
other shit
I've
too.
yeah, I have definitely been, I like going to them. Since me and Ron became friends, we go to these things. It's nice for me. It's like it's a nice little weekend getaway.
Hmm.
It's a write-off. There's very few expenses
Yeah.
in my business. So it's like, ah, right, I'm flying first class. Like I gotta write some stuff off. You
Yep.
know, it's like it's a nice little trip away. But really it was two conferences ago was kind of the first time for me. So kudos to you for getting out of your own way and making these connections with people, because I've been to a handful, and the last two were the ones where I feel like I've made the most connections, you know, because
Hmm.
I'm similar, even though I have this personality when I'm in a comfortable place. It's funny, a couple people said like he's different, like he's like kind of quiet, like who have been following me for a while.
Yeah.
Once I get going in a conversation, then
Yep.
I'm all in. But I'll tend to stand there like I'm a nobody, or I don't know. I don't want to like come across a certain way, so I can understand what
Who's
you
that
were
freak
saying.
in the corner? No.
Yeah, that was fun. That's the funny thing. Then it's like we're just sitting there in the corner the one time talking,
Yes.
and all of a sudden,
Yes.
like there's like a circle around where people are asking me questions
Yep.
about mushrooms, and
The Mushroom
hopefully,
King,
not.
baby.
Yeah, I'm like, it was just all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, this is like a circle now. It's just you, me, and
Yep.
Jared talking. And
Yep.
there's like this group of people. But yeah,
Absolutely.
really connected with people at this last one more than any other
Yeah.
conference. It was
Yeah.
so good.
Well, again, kudos to you too, because you're not too far removed from your first exposure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But basically, what him and I were talking about how the importance and also the clear lack in most people's lives to sit with themselves and ask themselves why,
Mhm.
right? The importance of why. Why do you want to lose this weight? Why is this a priority for you? Why does this upset you? Right?
Yeah,
And
and even to dig why. Have you ever heard of like the five whys?
no, please explain.
The five whys is you ask the question why, and then you ask why four more times to the same question.
Mm,
So a lot of people will give a very typical answer.
mm,
Why do you want to lose? I want to be able to play with my grandkids.
mm-hmm.
Like, shut up. Like, if that's really the reason, you'd be doing this stuff by now. You know, apparently you
Mm,
love the great, that's your priority. This would just become a lifestyle for you. Well, it's like, why? And then,
mm,
well, because whatever, why? And you keep asking why. And the same thing could be
mm,
about anything. Like, why are you in a bad mood? I was late to work. Why? Well, because there's a friggin' car in front of me was going slow. Well, why did you still end up? Well, I left a little later than I normally am. Why? I stayed up, and then it turns out they stayed up too. They stayed up late too much.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed up too late, and they can kind of find out. Okay, so I was the cause of this problem. It wasn't
Right.
this
Right.
person
And
that upset
I
me.
stayed up too late because and then maybe another while I stayed up too late because I was anxious about this, right? And maybe
Yeah,
that's the root, right?
yeah, and you can keep going. So the five whys would just be, yeah, any question, anything that you're maybe upset about, frustrated about,
Mm,
whatever. Dig a little deeper. Don't ask why just once. Ask five times and
mm,
keep writing that out. And it's weird because I think it might have been Jeb Stuart Johnson talking about the why thing. It's one thing. I don't even want to bother saying because I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's like more than just that.
mm,
I think it's a common thing to say, well, you got to find your why, but
yeah.
it's also like really, I guess, knowing maybe your how,
Mm-hmm.
or beyond the why. I forget exactly what it was, but
Yeah.
it was an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
So I always like different takes on stuff. Wish I
Oh,
could remember it. I
1000%.
apologize.
No,
Cut that
well, I
out.
think it's well, fuck you, Jimmy.
cut cut that section out. Cut the section where I was about to
What are
say
we?
something and
Where's my
then had
producer?
no idea what I
Cut.
was going to say.
I just post, maybe. It's just
Yeah,
me.
man. I post the
No, this
thought, I
all
forgot about it
sticks.
later. Yeah. I'm at the age where if I have a thought for a post, I have to pull up the app I use, make the post, and save it right then. Because 10 minutes later, I'll be like, what the hell was that thought?
Oh, dude, if I'm already there, I keep a
Yeah.
notepad right by my bed.
I like it.
It doesn't get written down, it gets lost. But
Yeah.
I think but could you touch on a little bit because I guess this is a great opportunity for you to maybe share your personal journey and then like maybe some examples for for other people through your journey. But um what was kind of like your moment to really start sitting with yourself more and asking why, right? And what value did that bring to you?
The closest time I could think would be over COVID,
Mm,
where I had so much free time and it created this almost anxiety, like I'm supposed to be doing something,
mm,
and finding peace in sitting still and being able to let go of this feeling like I always have to be doing something. I've always been very busy. And I don't know if this stuff, because these are all things that I've been investigating. Why do I feel this way? Like I have to prove myself,
mm,
and it probably goes back to childhood stuff. I always had a job. I'm talking, I was delivering newspapers before school in middle school.
mm,
I think maybe even potentially fifth grade, I was delivering once a week this advertiser newspaper. When I was 12, I worked the snack bar. When I was 15, I was a lifeguard. My senior year, I had three jobs. I was a lifeguard, a landscaper, and worked at Domino's. Like that summer, going into my senior year, and the summer going into college, I just always worked. When I was in second or third grade, and this was something that was just instilled from my parents. Second or third grade, I wanted a scooter. I don't
mm,
remember a lot of my childhood, like a lot of things.
mm,
People talk about like years. Oh, this year and that song came out and all this. I just don't remember a ton. If somebody brings something up, it's like, oh yeah, or certain things. So more and more things have been coming up over the last couple of years as I have been more still in my
mm.
mind. And but yeah, I wanted the scooter. My mother buys us flavor ices, the ones you got to cut the clear
Oh yeah.
plastic. But and I'm selling them for 10 cents outside of like the local community club pool in our townhouse development until I raised $60 to buy the scooter. It was like, if you want this, you got to work for it.
Mm,
So I've always kind of worked, um, and been going, like kind of proving myself. I said no to a lot of opportunities because this was the right thing to do. This was the right path. An
mm,
opportunity to leave my junior, senior year of college for something. And I was like, no, I got class. And I had the opportunity to like live at the beach one summer with a buddy and run these Stewart's root beer stands. And I'm like, nah, I'm graduating college. I got this job as, or going to my senior college. I got this job as a personal trainer. That's going to look better on my resume. And like
mm,
missed out on this opportunity to like really have the kind of summer that I probably always wanted. Um, and then after college, got in a car with an acquaintance and moved to San Diego. We
no
got in a
way.
car, quit my job as a personal trainer, barely knew the guy, drove across the country. That was the first time I ever did something like that. And I remember asking my clients at LA Fitness, and they were like, you got to, like, asking them, because I always looked up to older people for their wisdom
Yeah.
and learn from their mistakes instead of always having to be the one that made them. So I did that and lived out there for a handful of months, got called for a job back here and came back for this job. Because after a few months out there, I'm like, I'm ready to have a job.
Mm,
I started looking for jobs outside LA and San Diego and didn't get any callbacks. So I wasn't bilingual.
mm,
Literally every school. They're like, how
yeah.
are you going to handle kids that don't speak English? I'm like, I'll show them how to throw a ball.
Right.
Elementary fit dead jobs. So, yeah, so it came back. So it was always just kind of that stuff. And now I'm sitting and realizing some of these things, that a lot of things were done because it was expected.
Mm,
And now as I sit and think about my life and even understand what visualization and manifestation mean, um, it's taken a different viewpoint on life and relationships
mm,
and how I want to interact with people and what kind of, I hate the word impact at this point anymore, but what kind of an impact I have.
yeah.
And even just like recently, I'm in the car. I've, I don't know, had this, I think this humility that stops me from really stepping into myself. I even hate using the word humility because it's like, oh, he's cocky. Say how humble he is. It's like I've used that to block me from really seeing what I can be and what I can do.
Mm,
And I'm in the car and I'm coming home for lunch from work, and I just had this thought and this feeling like I know that I can inspire people, and it
mm,
felt uncomfortable for me to view myself in that way. But then I want other people to view themselves in this powerful way. And
mm,
I'm always like, I'd like to do that, or I'd like to do that. And it's like, why? Why would I like to do this, or I'd like to do that? Whether it's speaking, to audiences and this, that. Why do I want to do that? I keep asking myself that question. Is this just ego? Is it just like I want to feel important? Is it just me proving myself? Like, what is it? And then I just had this discomfort, but peace in this idea of I know that I can inspire people. Once
mm,
I get clear, and I'm going through that process now, I know that I have the ability to. And it's a weird feeling. It's an
mm.
uncomfortable feeling. If somebody else were to say that, I might be judging them or thinking, you're cocky or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to be so uncomfortable, but then so comforted at the same thought.
Mm,
So yeah, that was a long-winded way to maybe say a little bit of what I'm learning through sitting still, reflecting on life, realizing the power that we do have. And a lot of people, I think, are going through the motions, what
mhm.
is of what's expected of them,
Yeah. I
you
and
know?
I wrote down three words. Actually, I wrote down a few words. I'm gonna write down the words I want to talk about first, and then uh we'll go into the next. But the I wrote down one, expectations, right? Because you touched on that, and I think a lot of people struggle with expectations, and we could definitely dive into that. And the other two words I wrote down were discomfort and peace, right? Because there's those are two polarities, right? Where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and you mentioned feeling both of those at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Where you feel discomfort, well, on the other side, you also felt peace, right? So there's discomfort in knowing that you are about to embark on something that is going to completely change everything you've known, everything you've done, your way of life, your thought processes, right? Then you also felt this deep, almost calming peace where you're like, yeah, but that's where you got to go,
Yeah.
right? And I think a lot of people feel that when it comes to their health, when it comes to their mindset, when it comes to their nutrition. And it almost feels like there's a lot of resistance when it comes to
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because if you do have a servant attitude, you still you have an obligation to prioritize yourself.
Hmm.
And I think that people get too much in this expectation. They're doing things because it's expected, which is you're not serving yourself, you're serving others.
Hmm.
And if you're not prioritizing yourself, how well can you really serve others? And it is, at the end of the day, it's your life. It's
Hmm.
your one experience here. with the brain that you have. Maybe you have other experiences. You know, maybe there's the reincarnation to keep giving us opportunities for our soul to learn things.
Mm,
But this is our one experience in this consciousness that we have now, and we're going to suppress, who we really are. And
mm,
a book that's been really interesting for me, Jeb Stuart Johnston got it for me, was No Bad Parts by Dr. Richard
mm,
Schwartz. And we all have this internal conflict. Everybody, like, I want this, but I feel this, but then there's this, and there's these different parts of us.
mm,
So the concept of no bad parts is this guy, Dr. Richard Schwartz, uh, came up with the internal family system. And it's a
mm,
way to look at all the different personalities that are within us as different
mm,
members of your family.
mm,
And a lot of the self-sabotage behavior, all the things that we view in ourselves as negative, these are parts of us. These are personalities that were developed over time to protect us.
mm,
So let's stick with the nutrition thing. Somebody who emotionally eats, they can look at themselves, I have no control, blah, blah, blah. What's wrong with me? They beat themselves up. And then they try to suppress that part of them.
mm,
But that part of them is protecting them from something. That part of them was developed because in the past, when things maybe were really bad, this personality came out to say, here's something that can take your mind off it. And it protected you from those bad feelings.
mm,
So it does serve a role, it does serve a purpose, but maybe the way that that part of you is serving you is no longer serving you in the way that's beneficial.
mm.
So all of these
Yeah.
parts that we look at ourselves as being bad, they're not really bad. They've just developed bad habits in a way to protect you.
Yeah.
Just like a kid on the street in the inner city is maybe carrying a gun, maybe blowing up on everybody that starts with them, is just very defensive and argumentative and willing to fight in a heartbeat, because without that, he'd be shot and killed on the street.
Mm,
So it's like he's not a bad kid. There's just a part of him that's protecting him in some way.
mm,
So I think if we can all start to talk to those parts of us and see why they're there, figure out potentially why they were developed, and then start to communicate them like they're just like a family member. Like, yo,
mm.
bro, you don't have to keep standing up for me. All right. I'm not in
Yeah.
third grade anymore. You're my big brother. Like, back off.
Right.
Like, stop asking me if I'm okay or whatever it might be. Like, I'm
Mm,
fine. So it's interesting. And I love that concept. It really opened my eyes to stuff.
yeah. I love that. I think it's so funny you say that because that's a our buddy Jared Hamilton we just talked
Yeah.
about. He was just telling me about the different roles that we have, like the protector role and all these
Yep.
things. And I really loved how you phrased it and in terms of at different points in life, these roles or these parts in a machine are going to be out of service, right? And that's basically what we were just sort of talking about is like this discomfort and lack of direction, right? This uncertainty that you might
Yeah.
feel is because what you're feeling is a piece of you that is no longer in service, that is no longer what you need to get to where you're going.
Yeah. Maybe you've suppressed that part of you with those other parts for so long that it's going to leave
Mm,
you with this missing piece.
mm,
You're doing so many things, whether it's for other people or you're trying to shut down parts of who you are. You're apologizing for who you are,
mm,
and that's going to leave you in a place of constant anxiety.
mm-hmm.
You're just constantly suppressing parts of who you are, trying to appease other people or just allowing these other protective parts of you, protective personalities take over, and too much protection definitely messes you up, like a helicopter parent or bulldozer parent.
Mm,
Like, you're protecting your kid too much, they're not going to create a whole lot of resiliency. They're
mm.
not going to figure things out. um we can't do that to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that people tend to struggle with, and it's probably something you for sure worked with clients on before, but oftentimes we have this same narrative in our head, right? Like whether it's like you don't deserve this, or whether it's like you're always going to be fat, or you need to do this other diet. And what's been really interesting that I've come to a question I've asked clients is like label that voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that's really important. And I'm curious your take on it is when you're able to label that voice, maybe the person that always told you you're never going to achieve this was your mom, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now when we label this voice, we're able to pull this out and say, that's not mine, right?
Yeah.
That's not me. This isn't what I want. It's what this person always told me. Have you sort of experienced that? Have you noticed that others tend to have these narratives in their head that are sort of derived from other things or other people?
Yeah. I don't know if I've dove into the narrative of other people, like in terms of that actual discussion with
Mm-hmm.
those things, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely the labels. The labeling is such an interesting thing because I've always thought about it with like the DSM, the diagnostic manual for like
Mm-hmm.
psychology, that super thick book that gives a name to
Yeah.
everything.
Yep.
And it's nice, cool. I got a name for it. So
Yeah.
now I don't feel like I'm crazy.
Mm.
The problem with the name is now that's your identity.
Mm.
And that now you have no control
Yes.
because you've been labeled. So that's an issue, I think, for a lot of people. Like, oh, I've always been the fact hitter. This, it's in my family. This is just how we are. And as
Mm.
soon as you start saying that's how we are, nothing is ever going to change at all. I mean, for a
Mm-hmm.
little kid, one of the things that you always do if a kid says, like, I stink at that, or like, I'm not good, you tell them to add the word yet at the end of the sentence.
Mm.
So I'll never get in shape yet. Like right now, you're not, but yet, it's like whatever the thought is that's kind of holding somebody back.
Mm.
So it is difficult. And I've had the conversation with people of when they start to label themselves after an action and try to start just naming what the action was.
Mm.
Like I ate all the cookies. I'm such a failure. Blah blah
Mm.
blah. Versus like I ate you ate all the cookies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the end of it. There's
Yeah.
no identifying with the behavior.
Mm.
That's just a behavior. It's not an identity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's huge. If somebody can start to recognize the things that they're feeling, RAIN is the acronym that I've heard, which is great. Recognize the feeling, the emotion. Somebody can use this with emotional eating. They can use it with anxiety, stress, fear, anger, any of these things. Recognize the emotion, acknowledge it. Like, hey, this
Mm.
is, there's this potential reason for it, investigate a little bit why these
Mm-hmm.
things are coming up, and then non-identity, just
Mm.
separating these feelings from your identity. And a book, The Untethered Soul, is
Yep.
a
Great book.
great book for non-identity.
Mm.
You are not your emotions, you are not your feelings, you are the observer of these emotions and feelings.
Mm.
And I love that approach and that thought process. We're just the observers of life around us. We're not the actual things that we're feeling. We're
Mm.
just the observer of those feelings.
Yeah, that's so true, and I think that's so important. And I really encourage people to really hear what you just said because it is you hear that all the time. It's like I'm a binge eater, I'm an overeater, I'm a late night snacker,
Yeah.
I'm an
I'm a
emotional
night
eater.
owl.
That's right.
No, you've gotten into the habit of staying up late.
Yeah,
You're not, there's no such thing as a night owl. That's in my DNA.
right.
You've gotten into the habit of X, whatever the things that, like, that what you were just saying, or whatever their example is. I've gotten into the habit of
Hmm.
X.
Right.
Maybe investigate why.
Hmm.
Hey, are you staying up late at night because everything is so overwhelming, the kids and all this stuff? This is your only alone time. You've
Hmm.
never planted any alone time into your day, or come to any peace with anything. So now it's your one time to unwind. So you do that for hours after they
Hmm.
go to bed.
Yeah.
Well, one is, why is your 8-year-old staying up till 9 o'clock anyway? Get that little fucker down to bed at 8 o'clock. Um, and like, why they stay up till 9? I mean, I know fifth, sixth graders stay up till 10 o'clock at night, and then the parents stay up till midnight. Get the kid to bed. Like, this is one thing, but you're unwinding in that way, and now you're not getting enough sleep. So now that you're not getting enough sleep, it's leading to poor decisions with food. It's leading
Hmm.
to more anxiety.
Hmm.
And then why do you think you need to unwind at night?
Hmm.
You shouldn't. If you're needing 2 hours till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning to unwind, there's other things going on that you have control over.
Hmm.
You're not a night owl. You've
So
gotten into
true.
the habit of this.
Yes. I want to. I was born in the darkness. Unless you're Bane, but yeah.
Oh,
But I think that is so true, and I think and again, that's the importance of being able to label an action, not allow it to creep into how you perceive yourself and your identity, because then you start to believe this bullshit, right? And then
yeah.
once you start believing it, then it just further perpetuates this cycle of these habits that go on, go
Yeah.
on, go on for the rest of your life, right? So I think that's so, so important. I have
And with
go
and
ahead.
with identity, I want to say real quick, with
Yeah.
identity, I think it's important for people to their identity should be things that cannot be taken from them. So I know a lot of people like in this space, my identity is I don't miss. My identity is I'm at the gym every day. My identity is whatever when it comes to these positive things, quote unquote
Yeah.
positive. Well, what happens when you're paralyzed? Who are
Mm,
you now? And it's the same thing I think a lot of men go through. It's like their identity is how much money they made, how good they are at
mm,
sports, and how many women they slept with.
mm.
Well, what happens when you can't get a woman to sleep with you? What happens when you lose all your money or you get injured? You're not playing sports. You're not lifting that much weight. Who are you then? So the things that we create an identity around should be around things that can't be taken from you,
Mm,
and including those positive identity things. The
mm.
negative identity things, we can all see that there's no value in that.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're in a situation where you were unable to eat, would you be a binge eater?
Mm. Right.
No. So it's not your identity. Whatever your character is, the things that you believe, those things can't be taken away. I mean,
Mm.
you're a binge eater that goes to prison. Good luck binge eating. It's not happening, you know?
The inner Ram in me says you'd be binging on something else.
Oh, oh, oh. Is that
Sorry,
too?
mom.
Oh.
Sorry, Jimmy's mom.
She's used to it. She's listening to our show. She is shaking her head every episode.
There were some funny things too. When you were talking about like your past experiences. So one, I don't know if you know, I live in San Diego right
Yeah.
now. Two, I was a personal trainer at LA Fitness for years.
Nice. I was there like a year, maybe.
Yeah,
It was the first one in our area. It was like the first like big gym in our area. This is
yeah,
2001. And I became the assistant manager of the training department.
yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
making more money my senior year of college than I did my first year teaching.
Yep.
And I look back, I was fucking 20,
Yeah.
21. No, I was 21, just turned 22 halfway through my senior. And
Hmm.
I'm the assistant manager of the training department. Like I do
Yep.
nothing.
Yep.
I do nothing. I'm just doing sales. It was a great skill to learn. Then you realize
Yeah.
teaching everything in life is just sales. You
Right.
know, I want the kids to do what I want, but make them think that they're the ones who wanted it or that they had the
Mm,
choice. That's what
right.
kind of sales is. But anyway, yeah, nice man.
I love
San Diego and LA Fitness.
well, and also I was a lifeguard. So
Nice. We were meant for each
best summer
other.
job. I almost said dad. Or maybe this is some Back to the Future shit. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Hey, you got a lot to look forward to,
That's
buddy.
so saggy.
I'm triggered. I'm triggered.
I do have one more deep question for you. So the name of this podcast is called These Little Moments Podcast, right?
Yeah, I like it.
And reason being is because I had a little moment that ended up being one of the biggest moments in my life that was a catalyst for everything. But I was at a seminar for Jordan Syatt, and everybody was being very vulnerable and expressing like their binge eating or emotional eating or things like that. And I just felt very called to express myself. So a lot of what we talked about, like my intuition was saying, you need to fucking speak.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I really said to anyone that I struggled with mental health and anxiety and depression. And it was one of those moments where I was just like, I can look back at now and be like, that was my catalyst to my journey with mental health, my journey with looking at things differently and communicating, having like that was it, right? Is there a moment that you can think of in your life that sticks out and that has led you to become sort of the person that you are today?
I don't. I can't think of something off the top of my head. I
Mm,
think it's been a lifelong process.
mm,
Always being open to learning from other people. Like I said, I'm so bad with remembering so many things.
mm,
Um, I think just suppressing things over the years. In high school, I gave my life to Christ. It was this moment. I was very Christian
mm,
in the second half of high school, and in college. I um, liked being a leader in that aspect
mm,
while I was in high school and college, and led a lot of things in that. My beliefs and things have changed over the
mm,
years, but I think that part of my life launched me into wanting to teach.
mm,
And so I guess I could say that aspect of my life. I don't know if I would have got into teaching or not. I don't know if I would have realized that's a gift of mine, for lack of a better word.
mm,
And I think that that just was the catalyst, I guess, for future decisions with everything. And I think everything unfolded in the way that it should have unfolded. Like I
mm,
said, I'm thankful that I got into coaching later in life. Um, it just, yeah, I think it's just kind of one thing led to another. I have a feeling there is going to be a huge catalyst in my future to create a big change.
mm,
I don't know what that is. I don't think I've hit that yet. The one that's like,
mm.
this is the story that I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Mm,
I feel like that is still yet to come.
mm. Well, then that means there will be a part two of you on this
Bum bum
podcast.
bum 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 bum.
That's right. So when that happens, you let me know. We'll get you right back on. But I
Yeah,
appreciate you being on, man. Obviously, I think the world of you, and you're a good person, and that could see that through your content and your intention to help others and your intention to constantly learn. It's apparent to me, and I appreciate it. Where can people find you? Not your physical address,
Instagram
but
315.
hey, easy, easy.
Hey,
My mom listens to this podcast.
hey. I heard she's into me.
That's
Anyway,
right.
the yeah, just Instagram at Jimmy Nutrition. That's pretty much the easiest way. If on Facebook, if you looked up Other Side Lifestyle, that's my Facebook group, and me and Aram host the Other Side Lifestyle podcast. But the easiest way, if you did want to follow or reach out, is Jimmy Nutrition on Instagram.
I love
Yeah,
that. Well, thank
yeah,
you very much, sir. That's a
yeah,
wrap on
man.
Jimmy
Thank you.
Nutrition.
I
And
appreciate you, man. And you were one of the few people from this last conference that stood out to me. Um, so yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you. There is just such a genuineness about you that is so transparent.
mm,
Um, and you don't see that all the time, especially at those events.
mm,
So yeah, man, it was definitely a pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to continuing to communicate. We'll exchange phone numbers so we can text each other
mm,
stuff.
mm,
But yeah, no, you really did stand out to me, and I love your content as well. You just have such a nice delivery. It's very peaceful and authentic, and I appreciate that because it doesn't feel like there's a lot of that around. And I think there's
mm,
a little turn that's coming maybe in the
mm.
industry, and hopefully that's the case. And if not, all we can do is focus on the things that we focus on. Use the Dunning Kruger
Always.
effect for the positive and
Hmm.
notice the good stuff that's going on. So, yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was, yeah, great.
Thank you for your words, and
Mm.
we'll see you guys in the next episode. Later.